It's gonna be a hard video to make and to get through, but there's a bunch of stuff I want to talk about, and a lot of it has to do with the break and where I've been and sort of what I've been going through. But today is the 1 year anniversary of my father dying, and it's been a really tough year. So I want to dive into some of this and really look at what's been going on. It's been a year since my dad died. The holidays were a real struggle for me personally. I have really bad anxiety. I don't really talk about it a lot, but I guess it's important to talk about. I deal with really, really bad anxiety. I get sad, I get depressed sometimes, and the holidays really, really took it out of me. First holidays without my dad. First holidays without both mom and dad, obviously. And it was tough. It was just really tough. I had a hard time. I had a hard time in crowds. Flying in the airport was really tough. I had a hard time, just getting motivated to do things during the day. And I really sort of lost track of a feeling of self and sort of a feeling of me. The last thing I wanted to do was see myself in a picture or see myself in a video. So didn't make a lot of video. I filmed a lot of video, edited some stuff, but never was able to express overall how I was feeling, and I never posted anything. And all the shots just kind of made me feel bad and sort of relive those feelings. So here we are now, and I kind of want to talk about just a few of the things that I have dealt with as a result of losing my parents and sort of anxiety and depression. So I lost my mom in 2009. When my mom died, we were getting ready to move to Texas, so I ended up never going back to my job. I took a bad job when we got to Texas, thinking that would work out. That made things worse for me. I gained a bunch of weight. I went through a bunch of jobs, couldn't focus on anything, sort of got this ego that was bigger than the world. All of these thoughts and ideas that I had became the only thing that mattered. I was a terrible husband, and that's where sort of my anxiety and depression really, really took hold. And when my mom died, I spent a good almost 2 years sort of going through this funk of trying to deal with it and having these other side effects in my life that at the time didn't feel related, but as I look back now, were definitely related to what I was going through. It was hard, and I was surprised about it, I guess. Losing mom was a shock, so it was tough. When dad died, my dad had cancer, and we had some look. When you get diagnosed with cancer, you start looking at all the possibilities. We knew early on that there was a chance that in 2 or 5 years, after this cancer diagnosis, that the dad might not be there. And you do your best to deal with that emotion, but in my mind, there was also this feeling, and that feeling has a lot to do with no one ever asks me how I'm doing. I'm always the person who asks other people how they're doing. And in the back of my mind, I had this worry of, how am I going to be able to help my whole family if my dad dies? Which is kind of an ugly thought, but it's one that I deal with pretty regularly, and it's a big source of stress. So when Dad died, it wasn't. Of course, if you have cancer and something else happens, it's he didn't die from cancer. He died as a result of a surgery that sort of didn't fix what it needed to fix. Fix what it needed to fix, but the problem remained, and he ended up passing away a couple days after the surgery from complications. That was a surprise, but with some preparation that we had already done. We knew there was a chance. We talked about it. That wasn't the moment we were expecting, but that's what we got. So, when Dad died, I went from where I had talked to one of my parents every day for my entire life. When Mom was alive, I talked to Mom at least once, usually twice on the day on the phone. When Mom died, Dad and I talked 2, sometimes 3 times a day on the phone. That was really hard. How do you fill that time when someone is gone? When you've done something for 33 years in that case, how do you fill that time? What do you do? So that was a big one for me. I had trouble dealing with that. And then there's just the sadness. I'm still very sad about my dad. I gained back a bunch of weight this year. Not super happy about that. But it's, something that has happened to me my whole life. So, not too surprising. But it is kind of sad to have done all this work for a couple years and now sort of be not quite back to where I started, and having to worry about that and thinking about how to get my life back in order. I think the important thing I want to talk about is the importance of family. For me, family is everything. I have had a hard time. My parents were so important to me. When I've had outside relationships, it's been surprising to people how important to me they are. The talking on the phone thing has weirded out girlfriends, and my wife now thought it was very strange when we were first together. I had a hard time trusting my wife to fill that void left in my parents leaving. They've. It's a weird thing to say out loud, but letting her be. She's my wife, and she's an amazing mom, and I don't want her to have to be my parent, which she's not. Nothing like that ended up happening, but I needed to trust her to be able to fill in some of those blanks, and I had, it took me half a year, 10 months to be able to trust her and to let her fill that space for me. The big one, when my mom died, I was heartbroken that, she would never get to meet my children. Being a grandma was very important to her. She had only spent a year as a grandma. It was something she wanted her whole life. I had just gotten married. I'd been married for a couple months when she died. And the excitement over having a kid and having her be that kid's grandma, it was so great. Having her not be a grandma to my children was heartbreaking. Getting to see my dad actually be Sawyer's pawpaw was incredible. He really he was an amazing grandpa, and the things he was, he couldn't move well at the end. His hands didn't work from years of hard work, and he really busted his ass and hurt himself to be there with Sawyer, to read him books and to play with him and eat breakfast with him, and it was really special to see. So Him not being a part of Sawyer's life, and Sawyer probably not remembering, the impact that his grandpa had on him, really is a crushing feeling to me. That one hurts a lot still. I don't know. It was special to see how my dad took to my kid, and I'm really upset that he's not gonna get to play golf with him, or anyway do stuff like that. That really hurts. The other big anxiety thing that comes from my father passing away, and this is one that I just couldn't have anticipated, and this is one I'm interested to hear from any of you on if you've dealt with this. I worry that I'm not sad enough. Let me explain. I was a mess when my dad died, and I was a mess for a long time. I did pretty well in groups of people, and I could put on a pretty strong face, but there wasn't a day that went by that I didn't spend some significant amount of time worrying or thinking about my dad, wondering how I'm going to get through life, and just all this really typical stuff, and grieving. And but the one thing that kept popping up is this thought: is that I'm too sad about my dad, and I'm not giving my mom enough sadness for her being gone as well. Right after my dad died, several people came up to me and called me an orphan, which was interesting. I hadn't thought of that. I still don't know that I consider myself an orphan. I guess technically, and in terms of definition, I guess I'm an orphan. I kept worrying that I was being unfair to my mother for how sad I was about my dad, which is really an awful thought, and it puts you into this cycle of focusing on one or the other. You dig yourself down into this hole. It takes days or a week to dig out of that hole, and it's just really hard. The two of them being gone together, both of them being gone now, of course, is hard, especially for the relationship that I had with my parents. I think I'm too young to have lost both my parents. I thought I was way too young to have lost my mom. I was 25 when she died. It's just a lot. Look, anxiety and depression are really tough, and you gotta have somebody to talk to. I really internalized everything this holiday season, and that led to sort of me shutting down and not wanting to see myself in videos and pictures. I don't have a lot of either from the holidays as a result. It's been a year since Dad died. I miss him like crazy. I'm still stunned, but I'm doing better. I'm feeling better about things. I'm able to reflect back a little happier and do things just, sort of think of things a little more positively. I'm able to handle it a little better. But yeah, I do. I miss him like crazy, and it's hard to believe that it's already been a year. And yeah, I don't know. Look, the point of this, if you need somebody to talk to about depression or anxiety, look, I'm here. I'll talk to anybody. You can reach out to me here. I'll put a link to my Twitter down in the description. You can reach out to me there if you want to talk as well. It's serious business, and it's really challenging, and you shouldn't have to go through it alone. I shouldn't have to go through it alone. I've done a better job of trusting the people around me, and sort of opening up a little better. So, that's it. Hug the ones you love. If you need to reach out and make a phone call to somebody, do it today. There's people out there going through stuff that you don't even know about. So, talk to your family, reach out and sort of bury some hatchets, and Figure out what you got to do to have a relationship with the people in your life that you need to have relationships with. So, yeah, that's really it. Thanks for listening and giving me a chance to sort of talk through this. And, back to normal next week. And see you then.